Georgia.svg is the Western exonym for the nation in the Caucasus natively known as Sakartvelo. The Russian exonym is Gruziya. The native name is derived from the core central Georgian region of Kartli, i.e.Iberia of the Classical and Byzantine sources around which the early medieval cultural and political unity of the Georgians was formed. Both the Western and the Russian exonyms are likely derived from the Persian designation of the Georgians, Gurgan, from a Middle Iranian Varkana, land of the wolves, and a source of the Greco-Roman Iberia. Endonym. The native Georgian name for the country is Sakartvelo. The word consists of two parts. Its root, Kartli, originally referred to an inhabitant of the core central Georgian region of Kartli, Iberia of the Classical and Byzantine sources. By the early 9th century, the meaning of Kartli was expanded to other areas of medieval Georgia held together by religion, culture, and language. The Georgian circumfix RXO is a standard geographic construction designating the area where X is an ethnonym. The earliest reference to Sakartvelo occurs in the c. 800 Georgian chronicle by Wanshawanshiriani. Within the next 200 years, this designation was reconfigured so that it came to signify the all-Georgian realm which came into existence with the political unification of Kartli, Iberia and Abkhazeti under Bagrat III in 1008. However, it was not until the early 13th century that the term fully entered regular official usage. The memory and dream of a united Georgia, Sakartvelo, persisted even after the political catastrophe of the 15th century when the kingdom of Georgia fell apart to form three separate kingdoms, Kartli, Kakheti, and Imereti, and five principalities, Samtska, Satabagard, Mingrelia, Gruziya, Svaneti, and Abkhazia. Thus, the later kings did not relinquish the titles of the all-Georgian monarchs whose legitimate successors they claimed to be. The idea of all-Georgian unity also dominated history writing of the early 18th century Georgian scholar and a member of the royal family, Prince Vakhtang, whose description of the Kingdom of Georgia had a noticeable influence on the latter-day conception of Sakartvelo. Although Georgia was politically divided among competing kingdoms and principalities during Vakhtang's lifetime, the scholar viewed the past and present of these breakaway polities as parts of the history of a single nation. Georgia fell under successive Ottoman, Iranian, and Russian rule during the 15th to 19th centuries. It was reunited as the short-lived Democratic Republic of Georgia on May 26, 1918, transformed into the Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic in 1921, and eventually gaining independence as the Republic of Georgia on November 14, 1990. According to the 1995 Constitution, the nation's official name is Sakartvelo, with Georgia given as its English equivalent. In other Kartvelian languages, like Mingrelian, Georgia is referred as Sak or Chuo, in Lazit Sokotura, when in Svan it uses the same name as Georgian does, Sakartvelo. This same root is also adopted in Abkhaz, and Georgia is referred as Girtwile. Exonyms. Georgia. The European Georgia probably stems from the Persian designation of the Georgians, Gurg, which reached the Western European crusaders and pilgrims in the Holy Land who rendered the name as Georgia and erroneously explained its origin by the popularity of St. George among the Georgians. This explanation is offered, among others, by Jacques de Vitry and Franz Ferdinand von Troilo. Another theory, popularized by the likes of Jean Chardin, semantically linked Georgia to Greek gamma epsilon omega rho gamma omicron sigma. The supporters of this explanation sometimes referred to classical authors, in particular Pliny and Pomponius Mela. The Georgi mentioned by these authors were merely agricultural tribes, surnamed to distinguish them from their unsettled and pastoral neighbors on the other side of the river Panticapi. In the 19th century, Marie-Félicité Brossard favored the derivation of the name Georgia from that of the river Mtk Veri Vik Urosh Cyrus Ura-Djursen. According to several modern scholars, Georgia seems to have been borrowed in the 11th or 12th centuries from the Syriac Gers and Gerzayin and Arabic Georgian, Jerzen, derived from the New Persian Gurgan itself, stemming from the ancient Iranian and Middle Persian Vrkan, Wukan of unclear origin, but resembling the Eastern Trans-Caspian toponym Gorgan, which comes from the Middle Persian Varkana, land of the wolves. This might have been of the same etymology as the Armenian Verk, and a source of the Greco-Roman rendition ʻIberia, the ethnonym already known to them as a designation of the Iberian peoples of the Iberian Peninsula. Iberia. One theory on the etymology of the name Iberia, proposed by Georgi Melikashvili, was that it was derived from the contemporary Armenian designation for Georgia, Verk, which itself was connected to the word Sver, the Kartvelian designation for Georgians. The letter S, in this instance, served as a prefix for the root word ver. Accordingly, in following Ivan Javakashvili's theory, the ethnic designation of Sber, a variant of Sver, was derived the word Hber, and the Armenian variants Veria and Varia. The Armenian name of Georgia is Vrastan, Verk. Ethnic Georgians are referred in Armenian as literally meaning Iberians. Gruziya. The Russian exonym Gruziya is of Perso-Arabic origin, from Persian, Gorgestan. The Russian name first occurs in the travel records of Ignacy Smolnyan as Gurzy and Afanazy Nikitin as Gershinskaya Semlia. The Russian name was brought into several Slavic languages as well as other language historically in contact with the Russian Empire. It also entered the contemporary Hebrew as it coexisted with the names and, when Gruziya took over in the 1970s, probably due to a massive immigration of bilingual Georgian Russian Jews to Israel at the time. In August 2005, the Georgian ambassador to Israel Ashes Edhvania asked that the Hebrew speakers refer to his country as Georgia and abandon the name Gruziya. A similar request was issued by Georgia in December 2009 to Lithuania, asking to be called Georgia instead of Gruziya. The request was forwarded to the Commission of the Lithuanian Language. In June 2011, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Georgia said South Korea had agreed to refer to the country as Georgia instead of the Russian-influenced Gruziya, and the government of Georgia was continuing talks with other countries on the issue. In April 2015, Japan changed the official Japanese name for Georgia from Guruya, which derives from the Russian term Gruziya, to Georgia, which derives from the English term Georgia. Bibliography. Page ʻdʒɔːrdʒə Georgi. Metzneriba, ISBN 5-520-01504-X.